It's the Unhappy Hour.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Unhappy Hour here on the TNAM radio network. My name is Brian Engelman and I'm going to be your host as I have been for the past 4 years and a couple of months. Yoo-hoo! Yeah. So the big news today, quarterback Braxton Miller has been working covertly, kind of like the U.S. military with Operation Jade Helm. Yeah, we do Jade Helm shows, but that's on another program that's called Agree to Disagree. Subscribe and subscribe to youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. That's the place where if you let the commercials play or if you click on the links of the commercials, we get a couple pennies tossed into our wishing well, and we appreciate that. It helps fund the effort, I tells ya. Yeah, 4 years in, it's still kind of a beta test. Go figure. But hey, our guest today, Justin Engelman. Yeah, do you recognize that name? Well, he was one of the guests on one of our very first shows when Sean Flynn was producing and co-hosting. And Justin was one of our very first guests as we were broadcasting out of Sean's apartment, where he lived with Ted Distel of disteldesign.com. Currently doing a whole bunch of cool stuff with, Adidas Outdoor. Just climbing mountains and getting footage and cutting videos, and it's really neat stuff. Check him out. But yeah, Ted and Sean, that's where we started the New American Media so long ago. And Justin was one of our very first guests, and we are going to be developing a new program with him. I don't have a name for the program yet. It'll be a sports program. And Justin is going to do that on blogtalk.com/thenewamericanmedia. Blogtalk.com/ Hey, hang on, let me check that out. Because I don't really blog... Yeah, see, I was saying it wrong. Let me correct myself. We also... Okay, blogtalkradio.com/thenewamericanmedia. That's blogtalkradio.com/thenewamericanmedia. You can click and follow the show over there. Greg Moore is the anchor. Hi, I'm Greg Moore. He's the anchor over there, and he's doing Sports and More with Greg Moore. He's also our assistant programming director, so he's going to be working with Justin to get his show launched on that network. That's blogtalkradio.com/thenewamericanmedia. Check out our homepage at thenewamericanmedia.com, because on there you'll see on the right-hand side 3 things. Our Twitter link, we're at American_media_. Follow us. It's a political season, and guess what? The memes are hilarious. The Donald Trump one, we shall overcome. Come on, that's great. That's great. That's great. So check that out on Facebook. Do a search for The New American Media, or that's also on the middle of the right-hand side of our page, thenewamericanmedia.com. You can search for The New American Media with spaces in between and then like our page. We also have The Unhappy Hour Sports Group. Is that what it's called? It's pretty funny. I'm a pitchman of things that I constantly get the names wrong to. The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. See, I knew I didn't have... The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. It's a group on Facebook. It's private. Search it, and if we can verify you're an Indians, Cavs, Browns, or Buckeye fan, we will add you to the conversation. I don't know, somewhere over 700 people talking Indians, Cavs, Browns, and Buckeyes, and there's always something going on in that world. Geez, the Buckeyes won the national title. LeBron and the Cavs, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, Dellavedova. You know, the Browns were always super amped for that season to start. I mean, hell, the Buckeyes are like the Patriots of college football, though. I mean, they're just playing fantastic. And you think that a couple years in with Urban Meyer, they're only going to get better. And they did just get better today. A couple of stories. Ohio State's quarterback Braxton Miller is switching positions from quarterback to wide receiver. We're going to talk about that because that's breaking. That's like right now. And Ohio State has now moved into number 1 in the 2016 recruiting class. with Nick Bosa pledging to Ohio State football. The Ohio State. You know that name, Bosa, brother of Joey Bosa, who is a beast. Some people are projecting might even be the number one pick in next year's draft. Who knows? But between him and Cardale, there is some serious talent on this team, not to mention J.T. Barrett or Braxton Miller. So we're going to go right to it now. Bring in our guest, Justin Engelman, who will be the host of his own upcoming show on blogtalkradio.com/The New American Media. Okay.
Hello.
Justin, hello, sir. You are live on the air. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, thanks for coming back. I kind of set the viewers up, the listeners up rather, and I reminded them that you were one of the very first guests that we had about 4.5 years ago when we just kind of launched this network out of my friend's apartment. And it's good to have you back, and I did also tell people that you're going to be doing your own radio show on our network. I was wondering if you've given any thought to a potential name for your program.
I've been throwing a couple ideas around, but
let's hear them. Let me hear a couple.
Well, of course, some basic ones, but just a couple. Maybe sports with Justin Engelman or daily sports recap. I haven't got one concreted down, but maybe in a couple of days we'll have one. So
awesome, good work. Well, I totally put you on the spot. That's one of those gotcha questions. It's like, dude, we didn't talk about that. I wasn't ready to say. You made me sound silly. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it's all good fun over here at the New American Media, and that's why we like to bring our friends in. Of course, Justin, you are related by blood. You are my cousin. For full disclosure, I guess we're just going to get that Engelman name out there and maybe do some sports in the process. Who knows? If you want to do a political show too. If you're not too damn extreme, we could talk about that as well. But anyway, welcome to the show again, Justin. The big news today breaking: Ohio State's Braxton Miller has now said he's switching positions from quarterback to wide receiver. What do you think about hearing that for the first time?
Well, it is a little shocking, but to be honest with you, I think it's exciting. I think it's going to bring a nice touch to already a loaded offense. But he's a great athlete. Is he the best in college football right now? I don't know about that, but he is a great athlete. He's quick. We know what he can do when the ball's in his hands in open field. I think he's going to get the right coaching and the right guidance this summer and lean to the fall. So I honestly think the potential is there, and I think he can add a great weapon and great option. For whoever's behind the center, whether it's Cardale Jones or J.T. Barrett. But I think he could be very similar to what Percy Harvin was in Urban Meyer's offense there in Florida with Tebow. So it's exciting. I like it.
Well, you bring up Urban Meyer and you bring up Florida. Talk about, like you said, the coaching support staff that could really make sure that he's able to do this successfully. I mean, you brought it up right there, Percy Harvin, Urban Meyer. What have you seen Urban Meyer able to do throughout his career that makes you think that they will be able to get really good production out of him this year?
Well, I think Urban Meyer is prepared for the dual quarterback scenario he has on his hands. If you look back when he was with Florida and they won the championship in 2006, they had Tebow and Chris Leak. They had two options there that he went back and forth. You saw a lot of Tebow on third and short, fourth and goal, or, second and goal, whatever. They're on the goal line. So I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's going to be very successful in putting both of them in the offense, in every game. I think you'll see both of them. How dangerous is that going to be on a third and short where you got Cardale Jones? They're expecting up the middle, and he has a rocket arm behind him, much better than Tebow ever had or has currently. So I'm excited. There's not a doubt in my mind that Urban Meyer's going to be successful in it. But back to Braxton, I think that he has. I think he pitched it to him when I don't have any fact behind it or any source behind it, but I believe maybe he pitched the idea, of coming and being that H-back and being that hybrid receiver where he could add a huge weapon to this offense, and maybe that's what brought him back, especially because of his shoulder injuries. How he just doesn't know how healthy he's going to be when he comes back, how much he's going to be able to do, and so I think this just brings a huge element to his game, and then in the Wildcat, it could bring also he could bring that into the picture too. So I think it's a great choice for him. It's wise, it's smart. And who knows? I mean, he could be playing quarterback also. So I mean, here and there. So it brings a huge weapon to the table, and I think it fits right into what Urban Meyer wants to do.
I mean, you could see a Buckeye team that's just going to be, I don't want to say night and day from last year, but it's going to be very similar to those Florida years mixed with last year. If you could put those two in a blender, I think you're going to see some amazing stuff this year. I don't know. I didn't know that I could be even more excited about this season. Coming off the storybook season that I really think Hollywood's eventually going to make out of this Buckeye team, kind of like a Remember the Titans or Hoosiers or
right.
Pick your major league, pick any of your worst to first or your triumphing over tragedy sports stories. Last year's Buckeye team was just amazing. Third string quarterback beating Michigan State and then beating Bama and then beating the Ducks for the first undisputed national championship of college football. I mean, it was just, and there was a suicide on the team, Costa Cara George, earlier in the year. Like, they overcame a lot of adversity. Not even to mention the early season losses. They were getting acclimated to each other against Virginia Tech that everybody said, oh, they're out of it, and they climbed back in because of the 4-team playoff. So, I mean, I'm actually more excited than last year. I want to do this real quick. I kind of want to reset this because there's a lot of information in here, and I just want to kind of get it out. So if you could bear with me for a moment, this is the story Pete Thamel, I don't know how to pronounce it, from SI.com. Excuse me. He says, the idea of switching to wide receiver first came to Ohio State quarterback Braxton Miller in April when he discussed it with strength coach Mickey Marotti. In May, he brought up the possibility to coach Urban Meyer, and the two began watching films of star wide receivers together. Later that month, Miller began sneaking on the practice field at night to catch balls from quarterback J.T. Barrett. Miller kept the potential switch from quarterback to receiver a secret, which was a fallback plan in case he couldn't return fully healthy to playing quarterback after 2 shoulder surgeries, the latter which caused him to miss all of last season. Miller's fallback plan has become a reality, as he told SI.com on Thursday night, that's tonight, that he plans to start the 2015 season playing H-back, which is a hybrid receiver position for the Buckeyes. Miller hasn't completely closed the door on playing quarterback, as he estimates that he'll spend 80% of the time during training camp at receiver, 20% with the quarterbacks. But Miller said with more than 2 months until he'll be completely healthy at quarterback, he's approaching this season as primarily a wide receiver. Quote, for the most part, it's going to be H-back and punt return. End quote, Miller said in a phone interview on Tuesday night. It's a long process to get back totally to throwing and throwing every day. This is the smarter thing for right now. God blessed me with a lot of talent and a lot of different opportunities. I'm going to have fun with that and still score a lot of touchdowns and help the team out and be dominant at that. The move strengthens the loaded Buckeyes, who are already the runaway favorites to repeat as national champions. It also puts a player who calls himself the best college athlete in college football in a position to make plays in space, long a hallmark of Meyer's offenses. Miller's father, Kevin, said Meyer sees Braxton Miller as a versatile and explosive player in the mold of, wait for it, former star at Florida, Percy Harvin. Miller's position switch also alleviates 1/3 of the quarterback controversy looming for the defending national champion Buckeyes, as it's now a 2-man race between redshirt junior Cardale Jones and redshirt sophomore J.T. Barrett. Miller's switch gives the Buckeyes a little more offensive spice. It's going to be electric, Miller said. We had a great season last year, but we didn't see anyone do off-the-wall stuff. I'm sure guys miss seeing an explosive 60-yard shake-and-bake run every once in a while. The move sent a surge of adrenaline through the Ohio State staff as the Buckeyes are giddy with the possibility of Miller doing more than just catching conventional passes. From H-back, he can also take pitches, shovel passes, catch bubble screens, and even throw the ball on trick plays. While there's been an adjustment period for Miller, there's little concern overall about his ability to change over. Miller knows the receiver plays cold from his time at quarterback, and he's shown a natural ability to catch the ball and also to return punts. Braxton Miller can play a wide receiver as long as he wants to play it, says Ohio State receivers coach Zach Smith. His speed, strength, talent, commitment, and really lifestyle will allow him to be like Joey Galloway. It's going to be a matter of how he grows into the position, but the sky is the limit for him. Galloway, of course, former OSU wide receiver, played 16 seasons in the NFL, one of the receivers that Miller has been studying intently on film. He's also watched a lot of DeVere Posey, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, and Chris Carter. Miller said that he spent 4 hours a day watching film and catching passes from Barrett, Cardale Jones, and a jugs machine. At first it was an awkward feeling, he said, but for the past weeks I've been on top of things. Miller sounded giddiest on the phone when he talked about the opportunity to return punts, something he hasn't done since middle school. His high school coach didn't want him to risk the injury. He said he studied Tavon Austin and Devin Hester to pick up the nuances of the return games. Smith, who's in charge of OSU's punt return, said he's pondered using both Miller and Jalen Marshall, who finished number 9 in the country in punt return average last season, in tandem on punt returns. Miller's excited for it, saying, "That's fun too, man. Be confident catching the ball, make sure your surroundings are perfect, make one guy miss, and you're gone." So, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, Miller had 2 torn labrums in his throwing shoulder and left him short of 100%. I mean, I've torn my labrum, Justin. It's a rough injury on the shoulder. It's kind of like that. You refer to it like if you take a fist in your right hand and a cup, kind of like cup it on your left hand and put them together. That's your shoulder socket. And if you kind of peel distance away, that's the labrum tearing. So there's like a suction cup for your bone, and it tears away. It's a rough injury, and to be a quarterback going through 2 of those, I think it's a pretty smart move for him, thinking about, well, how do I get into the NFL? Am I really ready to bounce back as a quarterback? What if I could do this? How much of it do you think, Justin, is him protecting the chance to maybe get drafted into the NFL, maybe at a different position after these injuries, versus just really not being ready? It kind of sounds fun, and they are so loaded at quarterback, they don't need him there so he can play around. What do you think it is?
Well, I think it's honestly, that's a great article, by the way.
I know, by the way, that's why I read so much of it. I'll usually pick a paragraph or 2 out, but like there's so much information packed in here to like get the full scope of what's going on. I just said, forget it. I'm going to read half of this thing verbatim because there's a lot of context to it, you know?
Right. No, I agree. I'm glad you read it. Honestly, Brian, I think it's a mixture of both. You know, I think Braxton Miller sat back. I think you watched Cardale Jones just play unbelievable, way over, even a little bit over his head. You saw him in Alabama, even Wisconsin, of course, in the championship game. And I think Braxton Miller wants to play for Ohio State. He doesn't want to play anywhere else. He wants to win a championship there and have a part in it. And while doing that and having that thought process, I think he honestly wants what's best for the team. Because let's be honest, if he decided I want to be quarterback, I want the starting job, he's a senior, he has the seniority here. I honestly believe he was going to get the starting nod. Now, obviously, if he went out and couldn't produce and couldn't make the throws and make the passes in the summer camp, obviously he's not going to get the starting job. But, I honestly believe he was going to get that starting job. Now, I just think he sat back, realized what was at hand, realized what Cardale Jones and JT Barrett have, and thought, you know what, they should have the job. They should have the position. I think it's just best for the team. And obviously, down the road, this could help his draft stock and find himself on a team in the NFL that could use a position player like him. And you are seeing that now in the NFL where these players are more and more popular now. And so I think it's a mixture of both, but you know what? How do you turn away from Cardale Jones? You know, I just don't see, he can run with the ball. You know, he's not super mobile, but he can run with it. We saw that. And he's got a rocket of an arm. So I just think he sat back and realized what was best for the team.
And he's clutch. He's clutch, too. That's the thing. When you're talking about this, that clutch gene, people always accuse LeBron James of not having it until he won his first title down in Miami, which was, kind of warranted and kind of ridiculous at the same time. But yeah, Cardale to go and yeah, I left the Badgers out of that whole mix when I remembered beating the Spartans and Bama and Oregon. But yeah, when he came in there and just absolutely lit up the Wisconsin Badgers, lit them up. And, he was personally injuring the linebackers and defensive backs of Alabama. When he took off with the ball, he was lowering his shoulder, and he was putting stick marks on the other team's helmet. We'll just say that. He was bouncing them around.
Right.
And just to go through the rest of it, coming from the kid that said, I ain't come to school to play football. Or I ain't come to school to, what was it? I ain't come to play school. I came to play football. There we go, something like that.
Right.
How do you take the ball away from Cardale Jones? That's a super hard thing to think about, unless you can then have the two quarterback system like Urban Meyer had with Cardale and with JT, and they both are good at different things, and you play all of them along with Braxton Miller at the same time. You could probably see the weirdest formations with three quarterback sets, have like linemen in different areas splitting the field in threes and snapping diagonally. Now, maybe I'm just dreaming that it's going to get that interesting, but I'll tell you what, we're talking video game talent back there in the college market, and Urban knows how to do it. Do you think it could actually get as wacky as I was just hoping for, or is that a pipe dream?
Maybe a little bit. It's a little far-fetched, but we are going to see a lot of crazy stuff. And Brian, here's the scary thing for college football. This is very scary. Is that we are returning each and every one of the offensive linemen that we had last year. They were a huge part in each and every one of those playoff wins, the Big Ten championship game, and every single one of them are coming back, and a lot of them are sophomores. We might have them probably have them up to their senior year, for 2 more years. So that's just, it's going to be. If you remember last year, that was our weakness. We lost like 4 offensive linemen. We had 1 returning starter, and that was what kind of killed us in the Virginia Tech game, just because that was their second game, their first home game, and so it was a different environment for them. But to see how they performed last year, to see that and what they're going to be able to do with just with a healthy quarterback, a consistent quarterback, it's going to be very, very great to see. And we haven't even mentioned Ezekiel Elliott one time yet. Probably,
Ezekiel Elliott could win the Heisman next year on top of all these other shenanigans.
Exactly.
Oh.
So, and we have some studs at running back to back him up too. So it's gonna be fun to watch.
And you think about it with Urban Meyer, it takes a coach a couple years for his players to work their way through until they're sophomores and juniors and seniors. He seemed surprised, Urban did, that his youngsters were able to step up and maybe not surprised, just pleasantly impressed. Pleasantly impressed, right, that they excelled even quicker than many had projected. I think that's a fair way to say it. Kind of like I remember when LeBron was getting interviewed by Dwayne Wade after one of his wins in the finals, and he just kind of laughed, and he's like, honestly, I'm surprised we got everything together as quick as we did and got here this year. I knew we were going to get here, just I didn't know it was going to be this year. And I think Urban Meyer had a lot of that same sentiment last year. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of players coming back that have proven themselves to be gamers, to have the killer instinct, to have the clutch gene, a program that's been stable for several years now. Everybody's just getting better, at least theoretically, but yeah, they do tend to get better the more experience they get. And, shifting gears here for a second, now Ohio State, they have now been pushed to number 1 in the recruiting class for 2016 as Nick Bosa, a 5-star candidate, a top-rated player in the OSU class. he's now choosing Ohio State to play with his brother Joey Bosa, who is just an absolute beast, and people are saying he's pretty much a lock for top 5, if not top pick next year in the NFL draft. Talk about Joey Bosa a little bit, and then actually start with Joey Bosa, and then talk about this new kid and the recruiting class and how much Urban Meyer is stocking his cupboards.
Brian, it's unbelievable. I mean, we're looking at the number 3 high school prospect on ESPN's list, and the first one since Noah Spence and then Terrell Pryor before that. I mean, if Nick Bosa is half of what Joey Bosa is, I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I mean, honestly, I haven't seen, as long as I've watched Ohio State football, which is pretty much my whole life, I have not seen a defensive lineman like Joey Bosa. I mean, I haven't. He could be the number 1 draft pick in the NFL. Owing a lot of that to what J.J. Watt has done, just to show what he possibly could be and could do because of what Watt has done. But I'm pumped. I'm excited about that. We're also overlooking what the the recruiting class that we had brought in for this year. I mean, we have a top-rated quarterback coming in, to learn under these guys under Barrett and Jones and Miller, which is amazing. And then a top star running back, a linebacker in Hilliard. Hilliard, excuse me. So, I mean, it's just Urban Meyer, that was the one thing that we all expected, was him to bring in huge recruiting classes, but I think he's way above our expectations, and it is exciting. It's exciting not for just this year or next year, but I mean, because we obviously can see a possible dynasty, on the peak, but I mean, this could be going on for 3 or 4 years. We're in the playoffs every year.
How about indefinitely? I'll take indefinitely. For the rest of forever. Let's just have 2 straight decades being the Yankees or something, or the Lakers. Let's just dominate. I mean, how incredible could that be? I know now we're just counting chickens before the eggs have hatched. I get it. I know. But you got to have confidence in what they've done so far, what the history is, what kind of what the legacy of the program is. And you just see things getting even better after already being the best. It's hard not to start thinking ahead and going, wow, if this program just stays on the up and up, this is something that could just run the table, because the more dominant you are, all it takes is a visit from Urban Meyer, invite him over, take him out to dinner or meet him at the parents' house and say, hey, I don't know what else to tell you. Look at all the people we've put into the NFL, and I think you're at that quality of a player. You need to come play with me and win a title, or 2, or 3, or 4. It's one of those things where the better you lay the foundation, the better the house is going to be built. And I just see an amazing foundation built by a guy that coached my team in college. I didn't play for them. I played in high school, but the Bowling Green Falcons, Urban Meyer was the coach when we cracked the top 25 and had college game day on our campus with one of those MAC schools. That was Urban Meyer, and I've kind of followed his career a little earlier than a lot of people, as he went over to Utah, and even before he got to Florida, then Ohio State. I couldn't be much happier with the way things are going. I wanted to mention something, though, maybe a little earlier than your time, but in the 1994 draft, Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson from Ohio State was picked number 1 by the Cincinnati Bengals. He was an absolutely dominant defensive lineman, but he was more on the interior, a little bit less of the J.J. Watt exterior kind of hybrid defensive end linebacker type character. But yeah, I mean, just the history of the Buckeye program is amazing. Let me ask you about this. Terrell Pryor, you brought him up a couple minutes ago, and coincidentally enough for the Cleveland Browns, he's kind of trading in the quarterback thing, and he's becoming a receiver as well. What do you think about that? I mean, he's played on a couple different teams. He's bounced around quite a bit. Hasn't really ever made a consistent, steady name for himself. What do you think of Terrell Pryor's chances are of being a contributing member to a team in the NFL? What do you think we could see out of him?
Honestly, Brian, I don't know what to think with Terrell Pryor. I mean, I think if he caught two touchdown passes, I mean, it would surpass our expectations with him. Honestly, he's got a lot of talent. He's very athletic. Everybody goes back to that catch he made against Texas in the Fiesta Bowl a few years ago. I think it was like a 2-point conversion, if I remember correctly. But I mean, he's a freak of a nature in height, and I mean his speed. I mean, I remember when he was a quarterback, he was bigger than bigger than all the offensive linemen. You know, so I honestly think he could produce. I mean, I think he could be a good receiver. I just honestly, Brian, and I think you would agree with this. A lot of it comes to just it's mental. It's all mental. You know, it's how much heart you have, how you know it's all upstairs. Especially when it's someone like that has so much talent and ability. You know, he has speed. You know, he's good in an open field, like Braxton Miller. But it's all about what's upstairs. And honestly, anytime he was behind a microphone, and obviously the mistakes he made and the decisions and judgments he made while in Columbus, I just wasn't impressed. And you know, I think a lot of it has to do with how mentally strong you are. And so, you know, with what we've seen so far, you know, obviously I don't see. I'm not too optimistic, but you know, he could surprise me, and I think he definitely has enough talent. It's just what he can, you know, how hard he wants to work and how bad he wants it. So, I mean, that's about all I can, you know, put into it. So, and what do you think? I mean, what do you think? How do you think he's going to do?
Well, first, before I even answer that question, you got to think, though. Buckeye Nation owes him a thank you because that brought in Urban Meyer. Right?
I guess. Yeah, I guess so, yeah. I mean...
Just saying. I mean,
that's what brought him in.
I mean, we had to endure a year in between Tressel and Meyer that, let's just say that was painful. That was just harsh. Yeah, that was rough. Yeah, look, freak of nature. Yes, his poor decisions cost Jim Tressel, you know, one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. Obviously, his body of work in Division I is not the same as, you know, the Bear Bryant and the Nick Sabans and the Urban Meyers. Fine, I get it. Okay, but look at what he did at Youngstown State. You know, and look what he did with Craig Krenzel and Maurice Claret. They were building an empire over there, and freaking tattoos took it down. You know, I mean, go figure. But really, Jim Tressel is one of the best coaches that's ever coached in college football. You know, he's top 30 somewhere. He's one of the best. But yeah, Terrell Pryor, freak of nature. He's getting a little on with his career right now, but he's got plenty of stuff left. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen. That's the one thing about the Browns. You know, they signed Brian Hartline, veteran wide receiver, also from Ohio State. Signed Dwayne Bowe, veteran wide receiver. Had a horrible year last year, but they're hoping he can bounce back because he used to be a pretty darn productive receiver. Scored touchdowns. But the KC offense changed some stuff last year. Anyway, it's going to be interesting because the Browns have a couple veterans now. But, you know, there's a ceiling to them, and there's an injury concern, especially about Bowe. There might be an opportunity for Terrell Pryor to do something, especially with Josh Gordon being out for the season. You following the Browns pretty closely, too?
Yes and no. But I think they had a good draft. I think they'll have a better season this year. But I don't know. The quarterback is. I'm not too optimistic with the quarterback situation, and who knows what we're going to get with Johnny Johnny Manziel. So I don't know. Let's get back to Ohio. Let's get back to Ohio.
Wait, aren't you a Cowboy fan? Is that how that works? Or a Dolphins fan?
Dolphins.
Yeah,
I'm not a Cowboys fan.
You spent
Dolphins,
time living in Columbus and Florida and in Texas, right?
Correct.
All right. So yeah, I mean, you picked up
You
the
gotta
Dolphins.
remember when Armadale moved the team. He moved the team to Baltimore, and we didn't have a team to root for, so we had to pick something. So that's where that all happened.
Yeah. Well, hopefully McCown can. People are saying he looks all right in practice. I mean, he was on a team so bad they got the number 1 pick this year. I mean, just think about that. So I mean that says something. He had a pretty good year for the Bears before that. He's getting older. Obviously, Johnny, the pressure is off of him. Hopefully, he's actually cleaned up his act or at least toned it down into manageable levels. And I actually think it's a pretty darn good situation with one of the best offensive lines in all of football and one of the best defensive back groups in all of football, led by Joe Hayden and Joe Thomas. I mean, the Joes are anchoring something that could be really awesome this year in Cleveland with another year of Mike Pettin. No, but anyway, back to the Buckeyes. I don't know what else there is to say about this. I mean, it's breaking news. That Braxton Miller is going to go to wide receiver, and it just so turned out that Joey Bosa is also bringing his brother Nick Bosa, and it's a big day for Buckeye sports. I don't know. Did you want to have anything else to put a bow onto that those points, or did you also want to maybe talk about the Tribe real quick? Any comments on the Cavs or what have you?
I mean, I pretty much covered with Ohio State. I mean, obviously. Some exciting news. I just think it's going to work out well. I think Braxton Miller is smart to make this change now versus wait in the NFL. And maybe if Terrell Pryor would have done that, he may not be in the situation he is right now where he can't. He's bouncing around from team to team. So I think very wise for Braxton Miller to make this decision. And I think we're going to see great things from it. And, we're going to see great things from him, I think, even behind the center and at wideout. So I'm excited about that. So, about the, if you want to go to Cleveland, go to the Indians, switch to Indians. I don't know if you want to hit in that topic or not.
Yeah, I do because, it's time to kind of switch over. Here they are. It's after the All-Star break. 4 games under 500, 12 games out of first place. If you're talking about and that's first place in the conference. If you talk about the wild card, we're 5.5 games back, 5-5 in our last 10 games. I mean, it's a team that just cannot find traction and rattle off that 7-game winning streak, that 9-game winning streak. We just can't get it done. Losing to the White Sox today, 1-8. I don't know. What do you have to say about the Tribe? It's just with the Cavs doing what they've been doing and the Buckeyes being so exciting last year and even better this year, it looks like, at least on paper. It's been hard to find some traction and really get into this Tribe season for me. What about you?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know what I think about anymore of Sports Illustrated. I think they had us cited out to ruin our season with that with that sports cover.
The curse, yeah.
It's so frustrating because you see what we have on paper, but also it honestly was kind of expected. When I saw that cover, I was thinking, are you serious? I mean, they World Series champions. I mean, honestly, I don't think with what we have offensively, I just don't think it's near enough. Now, obviously, we see that, but a lot of people think that we had enough offense, to get in the playoffs, to be successful, to win 90, 95 games. I don't see that. With Santana Carlos Santana has not been consistent, and we see potential there, and we've seen potential there for 3 or 4 years now. But we need something there in the middle of the lineup, a run producer, and it's just not there. And Kipnis and Brantley, they're great. They're all, obviously they're all-star caliber, but it's just not enough. It's just not near enough. And Brandon Moss has been a nice touch, but we need something else, and I don't see anything. I mean, maybe a run to get us a wild card spot, but other than that, I just don't see what we could possibly do with the lineup we have right now. I mean, do you agree?
It's a far cry from the days in the mid '90s, late '90s, early 2000s with Albert Bell, Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, Carlos Baerga, Kenny Lofton, Roberto Alomar, Matt Williams, Paul Sorrento. Just go down the list. Hell, even Omar Vizquel was having some good seasons offensively in one stretch there. Yeah, it's a challenge to get runs. Obviously it doesn't help when you give up 8 like today, but the Tribe staff does have some talent, and it's just painful to know what they spent on Nick Swisher and what they spent on Michael Bourne, and the results that we're getting back on them. 5.5 games, it's not insurmountable, it's not impossible, but I mean we really need like a 12-game winning streak right about now if we want to kind of make a run at this thing, and it just 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I don't know if they have it in them. I'm going to keep paying attention and watching and checking them out, but it's a lot different watching LeBron James and Cardale Jones and Ezekiel Elliott, people that are at the top of their game for what they're doing, and then try to compare it to this Indians team that just looks out of sync, I guess. Maybe would that be fair to say, out of sync?
Exactly. I think it's just an identity crisis. I don't think they have found themselves. I don't think they know what they are as a team, and I don't know if it's because of youth or you look up and down. We are a really young team, and we don't really have a veteran. I mean, if you look at Swisher and Bourne, but I mean, when is Swisher not on the DL? So it's frustrating. Honestly, I thought Lindor bringing him up should have happened. That should have happened last year. That's my opinion. But we need something. We need whether it's bringing in a left fielder. I don't know. I mean, do you like the platoon with Rayburn and Murphy? I mean, I'm just not a big fan of platoons. I think if we can get something in that position, and obviously it probably won't happen this year, maybe next year, or bring someone in who can hit 30 home runs, who can give you 90 RBIs. More of a consistency. And then that will complement the pitching we have. And man, Tito Francona, he's a mastermind with the bullpen. So that's not going to be an issue. So it's just, I think it's the lineup. I think there's just a huge hole in the lineup that has to be filled for us to have any success in the near future.
Well, I know out here in Los Angeles, there was a similar problem going on with too much talent in the outfield, and the constant debate: who should play? Should they trade somebody away, get another arm, do this, do that? I mean, let's face it, the Ohio State Buckeyes could have a platoon at quarterback, and a second ago we were saying that was an awesome idea. Except in baseball, it's a terrible idea. It all depends on if they produce. It just comes down to it. They're professionals. They're in the big leagues. Can you get the job done? Platoon or no platoon, you're getting paid quite handsomely to play a child's game. Swing the bat, hit, make contact, get on base. It's just... The problem is to go out and get that 30 home run guy. We're not in the steroid era anymore, and to go do that, you kind of have to mortgage the farm on a $130 million deal. Oh, actually make it $155 because you're bidding against the Yankees. And you're overpaying for a Mark Teixeira. You're overpaying for an Albert Pujols, who I mean, geez, did he struggle or what? Josh Hamilton. Look at some of these big name signings. Maybe Cabrera's been one of the ones that hasn't let people down, but the Dolans are not very. They don't spend a lot of money anyway. And getting burned on Swisher and Bourne definitely doesn't help. But hey, Justin, we are out of time. Justin, I don't know the name of the program that you're going to have, but it's going to be at blogtalkradio.com/thenewamericanmedia. We'll get you set up real soon, and we're looking forward to launching the show, man. So thank you so much for coming in to join us on this interesting day to be a Buckeye fan, my friend.
I appreciate it, Brian. I had a great time. Thank you.
All right. To be continued. You can check him out. Oh, hey, Justin, you still there? Do you have a Twitter feed you want to give out?
You can find me at, I do have a Twitter account. It's just Justin Engelman. That's my username. So that's
Okay.
my Twitter account. So it's
All
nothing
right.
special there.
At Justin Engelman, make sure you go follow him. I'm Brian Engelman, signing out for the New American Media. I appreciate you. I love you. Go Cavs, go Browns, go Buckeyes. I'm out. Peace.
And this is John B. Wells reminding you that not only is Brian Engelman a cool guy, and not only is the NewAmericanMedia.com a very cool platform, but here's a cool idea for you, too. Are you alone? Not really. Do you like dogs? Do you like cats? You do. Of course you do. Everybody does. One or the other, maybe even both. You know, there are a lot of dogs and cats that are at shelters right now, and if somebody doesn't take them home, they're going to wind up euthanized. That's a nice way of saying they're going to be killed, because there's simply not enough room. I guarantee it, the best dogs and the best cats, the best pets, come from shelters. There's something about dogs and cats. They know. They know where they are. You walk through one of them, and certainly at least one is going to look at you and go, I wish you'd take me home. I'm in hell. Please take me out of here. It'll be the best thing that you ever did for your soul. You'll feel good about it. And not only that, but you have a friend for life. Doesn't matter if you got money, you don't have money. Well, it doesn't make any difference to a dog or cat. All they need is the sound of your voice and maybe even the stroke of your hand, and they're fine. Maybe a little food every once in a while. The sweetest sound that those pets ever hear is your voice. Think it over and adopt a cat or a dog from a local shelter today. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did.